Alrighty, what up, everybody? So, welcome to my latest installment of my YouTube videos. Today, we are making a tier list. This is going to be pretty interesting because it's just going to be my thoughts. It's going to be where I feel like the meta currently stands. Um, and this is where I kind of felt like things deserve to be placed. I did a whole Twitch stream about this. Make sure that you tag along for my streams. Every Thursday I will be streaming Yu-Gi-Oh! It's looking like about 5 p.m. is when I should be doing it. Actually, let's shoot for 4 p.m. Let's get a little bit earlier. So 4 p.m. every Thursday. Every Wednesday I will be dropping deck analysis. But this is a special case for an additional video because I wanted to make a tier list for the current meta. So in my stream, I started with tier 1, but I think I'm going to start from Rogue first because it's really easy for me to speak about tier 1s. So let's get a little bit more into the nitty gritty here. Decks that aren't essentially tier 1 through 3, of course, is going to be Rogue. These decks are all catered to beat the meta. These decks are all decks that don't really perform consistently in regards to tier 1 through 3. All those decks perform substantially well. They are capable of topping consistently. If you were to have 100 of each in a tournament, this is just where I feel like they would land in their respects. Okay, so let's just say here for Rogue, there are plenty of other decks. Don't get me wrong, there's thousands of decks that are viable right now. With the current format, it's beautiful. There's so many decks that could be played. Here are just a couple that I've seen, a couple that I've heard talked about. Here's a couple that I just feel like belonged, notably on the Rogue list. So we're going to start with Guru. It did fall off a bit, even though with Zexal it was very overpowered. But right now you can still make the Dragoons. You can still do these very solid plays. It is a trap dot deck, so it is very powerful, and it is nice if you're playing cards like Summon Limit, which is a Vanity's Emptiness this format if it goes unresponded to. And then you can play a lot of other very powerful blowout trap cards. Needle Sealing being one of them, since you can book them in your monsters. It's very nice. Then we have Sky Strikers. Shout out to the Yuchi Hongroy, Brian Chen. 3v3 champion recently for the Ghost of the Past box, and he plays Sky Strikers. Everybody knows that he's a Sky Striker god, but if you do have the skill capacity, to play this deck, I recommend that you could give it a shot. It takes a lot of gameplay knowledge, and if you can master it, then it is a strong deck still. It just isn't meta, and it's not a trap dot deck, it's a spell dot deck, but you still play cards to help it keep up with the meta. So, Rogue in this case. Salamangreat, I've recently been seeing an influx of Salamangreat. The Ibly combo, where you can give them an Ibly, make their monster or your monster 0, so it keeps double knocking and undestructible. It's very powerful. Then we have Dragoons.decks. Every deck that can make Dragoons is essentially a Rogue deck, especially if it's not meta or if it's irrelevant. So I'm honestly going to say that a Dragoon.deck is very, very ignorant, but very, very powerful. It doesn't matter what variation it is. Then we have Heroes. Heroes are a sleeper deck that I feel like, why aren't people playing more of? They have Darklaw. They have all their power cards still. Man, I mean, this deck is strong. It's full power. We have Stratos. We have Super Poly. We have all these cards that can benefit way off of it, and they can play traps or hand traps, however you like it. But it is broken. I feel like we need a little bit more of that. So give me a second here while I mute up. I just gotta take a call real quick.
Approximately 10 hours later.
All right. Alrighty, and we're back. Sorry about that little brief intermission. Always getting calls. Busy, busy. Anyways, where I left off was heroes have some potential. People just gotta have some faith in them, play them. It is a bit scary with droplets, with Dark Ruler No More, Impermanence, all these cards that can shut off Dark Law. But of course, just as Shaddolls have El Shaddol Fusion, you have potential to play your fusions. And you can make Dragoons in this deck very easy. It's kind of crazy, but you know, that's something for a video later. Altergeist. Altergeist are very powerful. They are rogue. They're full power. You can just play traps on traps on traps. This deck is very, very hard to go against, but it's possible. Then, of course, we have Thunder Dragon. This is very random, but I recently have been seeing a lot of decks go ham, Thunder Dragon decks, and I think that they actually do have capability of being viable. If we get a Colossalist back, oh my god, yes, but for right now, it's 50-50. Mystic Mind Decks, aka Mystic Mind Deck. Everything that plays Mystic Mind in some way does not. It's against the meta. It like purely is against the meta. And this is all like this is the breaks. You know, all gas, the breaks. Then Infernoble, which was a deck recommended to me by somebody in my stream today. Pretty cool. First fan interaction. I wouldn't say fan, but first interaction with with somebody coming to hang out. And Infernoble, I mean, I forgot that it was a viable deck. I'm going to have a deck analysis on it, which is going to be pretty sweet. But yeah, for now, I think that deck could be viable as a rogue option. Has some interesting plays. Without Smokescreen, of course, it's a little bit different, but still very powerful. Then we get to Tier 3. So just note that these decks aren't the only decks you could choose from. This is what I had on the list, primarily from what I see mostly around. There's thousands of decks that can go onto this list, and you know, I don't want to put all of them, but for now, here's a couple of competitors. Tier 3, I'm going to say, is ABC, Dryton, and Adamantipator. These three decks have fallen from greatness. They used to be super overpowered at one point, and now they're all just kind of lingering and not falling into the rogue category. But they are all getting some kind of play now. ABCs have a lot of sleeper combos, a lot of potential. I just feel like there's just not enough representation for it to do as good as it should. Drytons is very, very hurt at the moment. It has been weakened with the ban list and is currently getting new support that is going to take it to the next level. So that should be very nice. And then we have Adamantipator's, a deck that fell off also by losing Block Dragon. So their power card was gone, and honestly, I think that this deck does still have potential. There's a lot of combos. It's still very consistent. Still has everything else to it. So it's still viable, but it's just not competitive enough to be Tier 1 through 2. Tier 2, Virtual World. It's a deck that was also at the rise of greatness. It peaked with VFD, but now it's just Dragoon's Turbo. It is still very powerful, but it is too counterable now. Dragoons are just not enough compared to VFD, who shuts off a turn. Dante, aka BA, PK, or PK. Those decks, I didn't have a PK square here, so let's just imagine a PK square. And what's pretty cool is that Dante is a broken card, has always been, and it's nice to see that it's still having some kind of detriment to the format. And I think that with PK, you can either play the Requiem version, you can play the Dragoon's Turbo. There's a lot of variations that makes PK OP. But then the Cherubini, like, combo shenanigans with Appaloosa, things like that, it's pretty nice. I mean, there's just so many things you could do with BAPK, and I like that. It's very consistent. It is very competitive, but it is not strong enough to be in the 1 or 1.5. Then 1.5, let's just say here, this was a pseudo for Tri-Brigade. I realized I didn't have a Tri-Brigade square. However, Tri-Brigade is a competitive deck. It loses to Lantia, and I think that because it has a lot of 1 cards that it loses to, Dark Ruler, Droplets, that it only deserves a 1.5. Not to say that these decks don't get harmed by them, but this deck just gets shut out as soon as you drop a hand trap or a blowout card. Zoo, a standalone deck, 1.5, not good enough to be 1, but not terrible enough to be tier 2. Still very dominant with Zeus. Still able to play a lot of like tech cards, and I think it's very nice still. I think that, Zoo has a lot of potential, and there needs to be the right build for it. And then Prank Kids. Prank Kids is a sleeper deck. They are full powered. They're a fusion deck. They do so many different things, and they have just so many different key cards. This deck is a threat, but it's not consistent enough to be tier 1. Then we have our Rocket deck, aka Dragon Link, which is chambermaid and Rocket. It's so good I had to put it on there twice. Man, this deck is just so broken. Tier 1, best deck of the format in my opinion. These other decks are just as broken, but they are competitors to this deck. This is the deck to beat. So I think that right now we have Shaddoll full power, broken, and we don't have Soul Charge, but we have triple super poly. We have all the fusions, things like that. It's pretty nutty. And then I put Invoked here in the middle of both of these decks because both of these decks can play Invoked as an engine. And I just feel like they're all competitive, all tier 1 competitive. And then Eldlick is the standalone for itself. So I put this love triangle together, but all three of these decks can stand alone. That's why they're all tier 1, and they're all broken. Okay. Eldlick can go trap heavy, where you play the 2 Golden Lords trap dot deck, or you could do hand traps, and there's just so many different routes you could take. And then we have Dino, my second favorite deck of the format. Dragon Link number 1, Dino number 2. Dino has potential to be the best deck of the format. People don't sleep on that because they don't want to acknowledge it as the best deck. But this deck is so broken. Miscellaneous is so unfair. That's just where that stands. So right now, if you're looking to compete, I recommend the tier 1 decks. Tier 2, 1.5 are also very good. You're just going to have an uphill battle against all these other tier 1 decks. Tier 2, if you're going to a locals, go have some fun. If you're really, really believing in your capability with those decks, go at it. Tier 3 and Rogue, you should probably keep it the dueling book, and you should probably keep it the locals. Brian won with Sky Strikers. Anything is possible. It's just up to how you feel. And I think with that, this is just my brief little segment of the metagame currently. I think that this will shift. I feel like some of these decks are going to move up. I feel like as the new set comes out, we have Ghosts of the Past, from the past, and then we have, Blazing, Lightning Storm, the new set coming out, and it's going to be a pretty detrimental format. I mean, there's going to be so many shifts in and out of it. But as of right now, this is what stands the best. So if you're going to choose wisely. Because your deck choice could be the reason that you don't top. Or it could be the reason that you do top. So I do appreciate people for always checking out my content. We are going to be coming with more content here. What word am I looking for here? Surely. And we're going to be doing a lot of content. I say a lot of ums and things like that, but it's just to get to the next part of what I'm going to say. I think that what we will be doing next is we will be waiting until Wednesday of next week, where we will drop our next deck analysis of Invoked Dolls. We will have a feature guest, Justin Thomas. He's the person I got the list from. He's very, very good at Shaddolls. I believe he has a couple Shaddol tops from older formats. And we also are pairing it with a deck composition from a Don Salas, a member of Team Jobber, who went on a terror with all variations of Shaddolls in the early time. That guy could have won World if he wanted to, but he just didn't get to play in those aspects. And every regional that he went to, he topped. Pretty awesome. So we'll have a lot of insight. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great build, great deck. It's going to be a great time, and I'm excited for it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. If you disagree, leave a comment. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe. Make sure that bell icon is hit, because we will want you to be notified for the next video. So I really do appreciate your guys' support. I appreciate everything, and I'm so excited to continue this journey. Take care, and we'll see you at the next video. GG, Duelist.